Hello there. I'm Scotty. You're not day 22. Day 22 of Dis-Cember. We talk about Treasure Planet, a movie that flopped so hard it almost ruined Disney. Like it was one of Disney's biggest flop, animated flop maybe, and it almost ruined Disney. And it's not that bad. Really, it's not that bad. And there are people out there who to this day will say it's terrible, those bad characters. Why would you set Treasure Island in space? And meh, 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 meh. Here's the thing, though. Some people would say, oh, if you're a fan of Treasure Island, you're going to hate this movie because it shits all over it. You know, it takes all your favorite stuff, it changes some stuff. There's some characters that are missing, some are amalgamated, we'll get to that. Sets it in space and makes with creatures and weird alien things, and Long John Silver's a cyborg, and Jim Hawkins isn't a little boy anymore, he's a teenager, and there's space, and there's a dog man, and a cat woman, or a cat lady I should say, and it's not, anything. But I'm here to tell you, as a fan of the original, in fact, I grew up watching this version, the Disney classic version of Treasure Island. Watched it all the time. Great film. Didn't have time to review it, couldn't fit it into the schedule. Next year, I'm hoping. Next year I'm gonna do some Disney classics. So I'm gonna get like Freaky Friday and In Search of Castaways, maybe Pollyanna, The Shaggy Dog. Try to get some Disney classics in there. Watch some of the older films. I've done the Herbie movie, so it says the original classic. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. I want to try to get those, you know what I mean? But I didn't have time for it here. But I loved watching this movie growing up. And so I could say that if you're a fan of the original source material, I read the book too as a kid. I had a book version of it. I read the book. I watched the movie, and I'm a big fan of that story. And I'm here to tell you, as a fan of that story, this is not shit on that story. It takes what made that story good and kind of takes that and develops it into a space tale. I'm put that down there. Into a space tale. It's set in space. It takes the main story. It takes some of the dark elements like the black spot and like some of the killing stuff. It is kind of dark, but it's not as dark as the original source material. You know what I mean? There's black spot means that you're dead. They bring that back in Pirates of the Caribbean, by the way. But yeah. And it adapts that. That's the word I was searching for earlier. Adapts that into a space story. And I think it works. It changes some of the things, but it works. So yeah, it's basically verbatim the story with some things changed, Captain Flint, he went around the seven seas. In this version, it's the entire outer space, galaxy, whatever. And he collected treasures. And he put them all on this place called Treasure Planet. I'm like, treasure, like kind of treasure island, it's Treasure Planet. But no one knows where it is. Supposedly there's a map, but no one knows where the map is. There's a legend read to us by Tony J., who is Judge Claude Frollo in Hunchback of Notre Dame, and he was the Skull Guy in Mighty Ducks TV animated series, and numerous other characters. May he rest in peace. And so we get the crux of the story told to a little boy, Jim Hawkins. And now he's a teenager, and he's a bit of a troublemaker. He's getting in trouble, that sort of thing. But then one day he gets taken home by the Caps, the space police, or whatever they are, and he's put in trouble. The storm is brewing. He sees this guy. It's Billy Bones from the novel, from the story, from the movie Billy Bones. Instead of bringing the black spot, he brings the map, which is an orb here, kind of like a proto-lament configuration orb, which I know there was a version that was like the new version of Hellraiser had it changing into different shapes. I haven't seen it all the way through, but I've heard that's what it did. Not a fan. I think it should just be the cube. That's what we're known for. They're like, oh, the cube is only one of many forms. No, it should just be the cube. That like we know the origin of the story. And some people said, and not to go on a tangent, but some people said, oh, how this Hellraiser could be set in the canon of the series. No, it can't. If the box is changing into different shapes, it can't, because we saw the creation of the box as a box. So you can't just say, oh, this one turns and it could be in canon with the earlier chapters. No, it couldn't. Could not exist in the same place because it doesn't. No. Sorry. Go off on a tangent. I'm hoping they'll have a Blu-ray release. I don't have Amazon or Hulu, whatever the hell it's Hulu? Hulu? Amazon. Hulu. I don't have whatever it's on. So, I can watch it. But, back to this story. So he has that orb. Little orb. And he finds it, and it's the map to Treasure Planet. Billy Bones dies, of course, just like, in the book. But I don't think he dies right away. But he says here, in the story, it's beware of the peg leg. Here, it's beware of the cyborg. And so soon after that, a gang of pirates, silhouetted, so we couldn't see who they are, led by someone who's very cyborgish, comes in, destroys the inn that they work in. And so, we are also, before this, introduced to Dr. Doppler, who is an amalgamation of Dr. Livesey and Squire Trelawney from the book and in the original movies. They amalgamate together to make one character, which I think it works better than following two separate characters, but I did like those characters from the original. They were great characters, but Doppler is also a good character. And so Doppler decides that he and Jim are going to try to find the treasure, and so they kept this Captain Amelia, voiced by Emma Thompson. By the way, David Hyde Pierce, Fraser's brother. So, hey, my last animated film had Fraser's dad in it. Now this one has Fraser's brother in it. Try to put that in your brain a little bit. Kelsey Grammer's not in Chicken Little, is he? That would... Or Jane Leaves, they're not in that. Baby Newirth. She was Lilith. Anyway, yes, I know Fraser. So, they decide to go, but the mom is kind of against it, but they get Captain Amelia, who is this film's version of Captain Alexander Smollett from the novel and the other one in the movie. And, yeah, it's a female, and it's fine. It's Emma Thompson. So it's not ever gonna be a bad performance when it's Emma Thompson. Even in some of the goofier roles, like in Harry Potter or Stranger Than Fiction, she's still great. So, And then we're introduced to Long John Silver, who of course works in the galley, because that's where Jim goes to work under him. Not under him, you know what I mean. And he has Morph, who is this film's version of the parrot. The parrot that he usually has. It's Morph in here, which I like. I think I had a little squishy toy from Burger King or whatever it was, McDonald's, whatever place had the toys. I think I had a Jim Hawkins. I had that little squishy toy, and I don't know. There's also Mr. Big Stone guy. I forget his name. He's the second in command, and he kind of gets, And then there is the crab dude, who's a substitute for Silver's second in command, whose name I can't remember. Ian something or other, I don't remember. Yeah, and that's basically what we do. And so we journey, and we see the connection, much like in the novel and the original story and stuff. The connection that Jim Hawkins has with Long John Silver. And what I like is, so he's making him swab the deck and stuff. And he gets in a fight with the people, the other deckhands who we know are pirates, but and the crab guy, or whatever he is, the lobster crab guy. And he's kind of in an argument with him until Silver comes up and breaks it up. And later he comes up after Jim's done swapping the deck, and he's like, "What made you do that, lad? Why would you pick a fight with him?" did your dad not teach you right? My dad didn't teach me anything except for to leave and never come back. And at first you're thinking, wow, that's a lazy way to put it past, exposition. In a way, yes. However, what follows is actually one of the best ways to do it. Yes, they throw that little line of exposition out, and they then we have a montage of Silver and Jim kind of working together, bonding, that sort of thing, cut in with flashbacks of what actually happened with Jim's dad, all set to the song I'm Still Here by John Resnick, which played all over Disney Channel when this movie came out. I mean, it was everywhere, and I love the song. I have it on my Spotify. I was singing along to it. I love the song. I'm not going to sing any of it because, you don't need to hear my voice. But, yeah, it's a fantastic sequence. And I'm sitting there watching this, and I'm singing. And as I'm singing, I'm actually watching what's going on as well. Usually I just sing and not pay attention, but I'm actually looking at the screen, singing, and I'm seeing what's going on. And it's a fantastic way to get across the exposition. Yes, you have that line of dialogue that you could say is lazy dialogue, but then compounded with this, we actually see it actually show us what happened through flashbacks combined with him bonding with John Silver, and it works. But it doesn't last because the next morning or so, Jim is chasing Morph around when they land in a barrel with some fruit. Like in the original story, only it was apples. In that one, it is to something else. And he overhears them. They're pirates, and they're going to take over the ship once they get to the place, which is a conundrum because no one else is supposed to know where they're going. Only Amelia, Doppler, and Jim know where they're going, but somehow everyone else knows they're going to Treasure Planet. But they're hit the map so they wouldn't know where they're going. I don't know. It's a little bit iffy, but still. They get there, and of course, there's the mutiny. Much like in the book and everything, there's the mutiny. And so, of course, Jim is forced to go to Treasure Planet with the pirates. And on there, he meets Ben, which Ben, it's a robot, voiced by Martin Short. And this might be the character that some people will think is a little too much. And sometimes Martin Short, he can go a little too much with the character, but otherwise, I think it's fine. I think it's a decent character. It, of course, is a replacement for Ben Gunn, who is left by Captain Flint. The skinny, bag of bones, bearded guy, Ben Gunn from the novel and the story here. Right there, him, right there. That Ben Gunn, right there. I believe so. I believe that's who it is. Yeah. Yeah. By the way, this is Bobby Driscoll. Peter Pan! I believe it's Peter Pan, right? Yeah, Peter Pan. And this is after Peter Pan. Or is it? No, Peter Pan was 1953, wasn't it? This is 1950. Never mind. Right? Let's see. Peter Pan. If this was 1943, this got to be 1950 something. Close to it. I remember him having kind of a kid voice, and then Peter Pan, his voice is a little bit deeper. So I don't know. But it's just anyway. Yeah, so you know what happens here. It's the same thing really that happens on Treasure Island. They get there. In this version, there's a booby trap by Captain Flint, which they figure out. Here, though, it's different, because they're trying to figure out where the treasure is, but they can't find it. But they find out the map sits in this little area, and you open a portal, and, you have to point out that, oh, look, there's this place where he's from, so that can come back later. And they realize that the treasure was hidden in the center of the planet, so they just point to the center of the planet, and they go treasure. There's booby traps, and so things start to... and every pirate but Silver dies. And this is where we get where, he has the ship, and he's going to, it's shown earlier in the film at the beginning that Jim is like a mechanic. He can get things working. He can fix his own. He made his own space board or whatever you call it, glider, whatever you want to call it. And so here he fixes up this ship so it'll fly, and Silver is there, but Jim falls off, and Silver is forced to let the ship go so he can save Jim. And so that kind of earns him respect, and so he gets on the ship, because there's a thing where he thought he grabbed the map, but it was Orb, I forget his name now, but it was the Orby dude. I forget his name. Looking at it didn't help. Anyway, and they do go back, but then that's, a problem. This is earlier in the film, by the way, before this, because they separate. And Amelia is hurt. Doppler is tending to her, and they kind of fall in love, which I don't think that was in the book, because they were all men. So I don't think back then they would do that kind of thing. Maybe today. Who knows? Maybe Dr. Livesey and Captain Smollett. Who knows? Maybe they'll make a nice couple. Who knows? Anyway, maybe Squire Trelawney. Who knows? Anyway, so they sneak on a ship to get the map, and when they come back, of course, Silver has the other two hostage, and so that's when he's forced to go and they do the thing. Anyway, because of that, everyone gets back on the ship except for the evil pirates they're taken care of, and Silver is there. And Jim has to, set up another glider and fly till he can hit the button. But the thing has problems working. He's able to, hit it on the side of the metal and start it with a spark and push the button, and they sail through. And then we get the prerequisite, in the original version, there was no real big escape. I think there was a booby trap, but I don't remember them. There's they just go back to the shore, and Jim lets Silver go. And in this movie, that's where the movie ended. It ends with Hawkins standing on the shore with Silver rowing away. Well, here he rows away, but we cut because Silver left him some of the treasure, and so he's like, "Give this to your mom to fix up the inn, lad," which he destroyed, so he's kind of paying it back. And so it's shown that everything is fixed, and he's part of this royal guard now, as recommended by Amelia. Amelia and Doppler are now married, I believe, and they have kids, a litter, because a cat and a dog. Why isn't there a cat dog? I mean, come on. And the movie ends, and there's something interesting happens in the end credits. There's a song playing, "Always Know You're Here," something like that. I asked Google what it was, and it told me it was "Always Know You're Here" by B.B. Mac. It didn't sound like B.B. Mac. It turns out there are actually two versions of the song on the same soundtrack. There's a version by B.B. Mac that's, I guess, the album version, and then the movie version, which is John Resnick, or just Resnick as it says. Yeah, it's really weird. I don't know why they had two versions of the same song. I was like, this isn't B.B. Mac. It sounds like John Resnick, and so I looked it up. There's two different versions. But, guys, this movie, I think this is an underrated movie. I enjoyed it. The animation is good. There's times where there's 3D animation stuff. It still looks really good. Stuff with the robot, that kind of, 3D animation, computer animated. It all looks still really good, especially in HD. It looks really good. This for me, this movie stands the test of time. I don't get to hate. I really like this movie, and I'm going to say it's pretty good. I think it's an underrated Disney film. Does not deserve the hate. I wouldn't say Atlantis is underrated, because I think Atlantis is strictly a good film in its own right. It's not looked down upon like this one. But there's something to say about 2000s Disney animated films, which my next animated film might say a lot. It's another one that has a lot of negative reception. I've never seen it, but that's the next animated one. Actually, tomorrow, though, we are going to start the first part of our franchise we are covering, and much like this, it has to do with pirates. So grab the rum. It should be empty. I don't even have the can. So grab the rum. It's empty. Why is the rum gone? Why is the rum always gone? There's actually something in here, but... Cherry. Sorry, man, you're kind of thirsty. Until then, what are your thoughts on Treasure Planet? Let me know in the comments. Let me share, like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.